Hi, Cynthia. I wanted to leave you some feedback on your thesis statement and your week 3 writing assignment. Overall, I think things are looking pretty good. I can see the direction that you want to take this in, and I think that you have enough evidence to argue it. So, as a whole, it's working, but let's go ahead and talk about some things here and there. Um, some things to edit for. Don't forget to include your header up here, your last name, and your page number in the upper right hand corner. Remember, short stories are not, titles, excuse me, are not in quotation, sorry, they're not italicized. They should be in quotation marks. You also don't need the colon right here, right? Because this is a complete sentence. So just go ahead and edit out your colon right here. I like your summary details. Overall, your summary is really clear. There's only a few places here and there that, as your reader, I got a little lost. So let's see. Use of force is an essay about a doctor examining a young girl who fights the examination. When the essay begins, the doctor says they are new patients and he is doing a home visit. So we don't know who the they is because in your first sentence, all you mention is the girl. So do some rewriting, do some revision in here so you can more clearly set the stage that he's coming to a family's home, if that makes sense, right? So as it stands now, this sentence doesn't completely make sense, and it's mainly because of the they. You just haven't introduced all the characters yet, and you need to, right? Otherwise, that will fall flat for the reader. Um, like I said, I think you're doing a really good job with the summary details where you're bringing in the most pertinent plot details. So there's great work here. And then I like this. The question that stands is, are his actions justifiable? Yep, that's exactly what Williams wants us to think about. And then your thesis is the actions that Dr. Cook, took are justifiable because, and then you have your list. So in terms of your items on the list, I think they're working, right? Because you say she was uncooperative, was putting other people at risk of. So your parallelism is working well because you have verb, verb, verb. You might consider, if you can, with items on a list, especially in a thesis statement, if the phrases are getting really lengthy, um, it's best to condense them. So if you could say something like, because she was uncooperative, violent, and I'm not quite sure how you would phrase this one, um, but if you could figure out a way to condense these items on a list, I think this thesis would read better. I think you're doing good work with pulling out the key moments in the text. There's only a couple of things that I want you to consider. So in terms of the evidence here, where you bring in this quote, "The damn little brat must be protected against her own idiocy." Um, I think that you're fair in saying that his frustration is getting to the best of him in this moment. But if you bring this quote in isolation, a lot of readers are going to have a hard time digesting that without you talking about the language that he's using. He's swearing, he's calling her names, um, and implying that she has no agency. Um, so I think it's okay to use that as evidence to support your purpose. However, I would take the time to present the counter argument there. I think if you really want that piece of evidence to work for you in the way that you're trying to use it, you're gonna need to take some time and examine his language there, right? Um, I personally, as a reader, am made to feel really uncomfortable when he says that. And I think that even a reader who's unfamiliar with this text would be even more so uncomfortable, right? That a doctor was talking this way about a little girl. So I recommend maybe giving that line two paragraphs. One where you're talking about it in how it suits, the purposes of your thesis, but how you're also kind of examining well, even though his actions are justified, what about his language choices? So I think look at it this way. Skeptical readers are going to have a problem if he's using this kind of language. So in short, how can you address that? Because remember, when you're writing arguments, you're not writing for people who already agree with you. That's called choir preaching. You're writing for people who need to be convinced. And if you're using this as evidence, skeptical readers are going to go, yikes, this is not a good guy. I don't care what that little girl did. This is a terrible thing to say. Does that make sense what I'm getting at? So I'm not saying axe it. I'm saying complicate it, right? Be really honest with what that line is doing. The final thing is this piece of evidence. You say she became violent towards the doctor when he was trying to examine her. So that happens earlier in the text when she smacks his glasses off of his face. But the moment of evidence that you bring in to support this idea is actually after he gets the diagnosis. That's when she's truly furious and trying to attack him. So you might think about the evidence that you're using there and how it fits into the chronology of the story, because I don't think that's entirely accurate. I think that you can make the argument that she does indeed try to get violent, but that specific moment of violence is after the fact. So you want to make sure that you're being fair to the story, right? So as a whole, I think that this is working. I think that there's just some ideas here and there to kind of tease out, and that's a good thing because that'll give you more things to write about. All right, thanks so much.